You're watching the Top 6 Show, the original multi-club fan channel. Make sure you're following us now on Spotify and Apple Podcast. The link is in the description below. Welcome back to the Top 6. Hit the like button. Make sure you're subscribing and the bell notification is turned on as well. And remember to come and follow us on Spotify by clicking on the link in the live comment section or description below so you can download the podcast there. We've got a brilliant panel for you tonight, including George and Sava back in Tottenham Hotspur. Nobbins is back from his holiday abroad. We've got man like Monty here to talk Arsenal. We've got little Tom here to touch on Liverpool. And of course, I'm here, Terry Flewers, back in United. And there is no better place to start. We're going to jump into it because it's going to be an action-packed night, I'm sure. We are starting with the sacking of Antonio Conte. Trophyless, hopeless. He moves on. There are links to JULIAN Nagelsmann that we'll move on to. But I wanted to go to George first because I know you're someone that really backed the manager for a long time. But he's now gone. How are you feeling about it? You're on mute, bro.
Muted. Sorry about that. I've sort of become detached from the thought of him being at Tottenham over this past week. So I've sort of learned to live with it. I mean, we're at this stage now where it was as you said, I think in an earlier show I watched, it was waiting to happen. He'd pretty much been sacked or he had agreed to leave, whatever the business terms they want to use. It was agreed that he was no longer going to be the Tottenham manager by this week. And so it went ahead. Apparently it's more on his side. He doesn't want to finish a job at Tottenham. He doesn't feel supported by the board. He doesn't feel supported and backed by the players. And so he sort of saw his way out. I don't feel like it's been a good tenure. It's been okay. There was some great things and some great moments that we've had, but there was also some very bad moments. And similar to what Jose done here, the bad outrule how good it was. Because ultimately, right now, we're not in a great position. It seems like it's just a revolving door at Spurs at the moment, where everything goes up. It's like starts off well, goes up, and then it just comes down, and it comes crashing down. And right now, that's where we're at. It's come crashing down. We've got Stellini and Mason in till the end of the season with 10 games to go. For me, that seems like Levy's just trying to get us to top four, and his statement pretty much said that. We're trying to play out to see it out till top four. I think Conte didn't want to continue, but look, we'll keep Conte's right-hand man, the man that trains the team every day and plays the exact same way, and we'll keep him until the end of the season, see if he can get us to top four because he had a few good games. So it seems like Levy's trying to save face, keep Stellini and keep Mason in, try to see us out the season and go into next season with top four. But whether we get top four or not, it doesn't make much difference as to where we're going next season unless we have a clear plan with a new manager and we're actually going to go out there and back that manager to give him what he wants in the transfer window, as well as with regards to this team, because this team needs to be ripped up and it needs to be a lot of players sold, a lot of contracts terminated. But it's whether the Tottenham board are going to go ahead and do all of this. That's where the questions lie.
I'm going to ask that question. I'm going to throw this to Sava. This has all happened now. Where does the blame really lie at Tottenham? Because, of course, no manager has been winning things for a long time. Conte has had these outbursts. He's made some terrible decisions on the football pitch. But where does the blame lie? How has this happened? How have you got to this position again, mate?
How long is the show? Look, it's a systemic problem at Tottenham Hotspur, and it's come right from the very top. Where, look, we can take it from the top to the bottom. If we start from the bottom, Antonio Conte was never the right guy. It was always a terrible, terrible manager choice for Tottenham Hotspur. It didn't match. It didn't fit. This is a guy that is win now, as opposed to a club like Tottenham that weren't in the position to win, that weren't ready to win. And yet fans then lose their mind when a manager like Conte has come and gone in 18 months, when that's his average tenure at every football club he's ever managed. So from that point of view, it was a terrible appointment. But it all goes back to the board. It all goes back to there's no plan. Like George said, there's no plan at this football club. So there's no ethos. You look at other clubs and you go, right, that's the type of player they sign. That's the type of football they play. Tottenham have just got none of that. We've got nothing coming through the youth. We've got no ethos in the way we play football. We've got no plan, no pathway to the first team. The directors of football keep coming and going, and that keeps changing as well. And until there's a plan in place, and until fans stop craving top four, by the way, top four's the worst thing that's happening to this football club at the moment, because it's making fans think we're better than we are. And I think we need to look past that. We need to look past the end of our noses and look at, what do we want to be? What do Tottenham want to be in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, right? When we're all a lot older, what club do we want to be? And unfortunately, that's not how we operate. We operate on a get top four, get the money. That's success. And that success started with Levy, him seeing that as success, and it's filtered down to fans craving top four. You watch, all the conversations you'll hear will be, can we still salvage top four? Why does anyone care? Why do Tottenham fans care if we're in the Champions League or not? It does nothing for us. We don't use it as a platform to kick on. So, look, for me, it all stems from the top with the board. However, I would say that Antonio Conte is a dreadful football manager for anyone that likes football on the eye. So, it didn't marry up for me.
I hear you on that. I mean, do you agree with that, George? It's
No.
Top four is bad for you as a club. Oh. You guys have got to stop giving it the big un and thinking you're better than you really are. Do you agree with that take?
I think it's bad for us because we set the board set the limit at top four. Every time we're talking about top four, it makes you think that is what you aim to reach, and if you exceed that we're just doing something completely amazing. But we should be aiming for first. We should be aiming to win the league title. Whether it's not this year, we need to start a plan in the next 5 years on how we're going to get to that league title, and that's where the problem lies. Is like Sava said, we're just aiming this year we're going to get top four. Next year we might get top four a bit more comfortable, but it's just top four, and that's where the problem lies. It's just that we focus on that a bit too much in as a whole, as a club. The club focuses on that too much. And it reflects onto the players, it reflects onto the managers, and it reflects onto the fans. But no one's happy with that. Let's get that clear. Fans are not happy with top four. Top four is a participation trophy. We're participating in the Champions League. And yeah, it's good and it's all fun and games to be above some of your rivals into top four. But if it means we're just going to go into the Champions League next season and bow out the group stages, whether it's not round of 16, then there's no point in going into the Champions League. I'd rather go into the Europa League and win it. I'd rather just go there and win the Europa League just for the sake of it. So right now, like Sav said, I couldn't really care less about top four this season, because if there's no plan going into next season, we're just going in there to be participants anyway. So top four does nothing for us apart from boost the revenue by 10 mil or something like that. It's nothing big for us.
Yeah. So can I just add on to that? Yeah, you're right, George. For me, look, European football's great and everyone wants to play in Europe, but I think sometimes we get a bit blinded by counting that as success, right? There's no plan. Like we can keep going back to this. What are we going to be in 5 years? What are we going to be in 10 years? You look at City. Yeah, they've spent money, but while spending money, look at what they've built and the infrastructure of the club coming through. Look at the youngsters coming through that football club. It's disgustingly good how good their youngsters are. And they'll get to the point where even if they're banned from buying players for a year, they'll just keep bringing these youngsters through the academy. We don't even have that. We don't even have an academy that's worth talking about. So what are we? We're pretenders. We're trying to keep up with the Liverpools, the Arsenals, the Cities, the Chelseas, the Uniteds. But all of these clubs do that little thing that word shouldn't be in our dictionary, which is win. They all win. We don't. And I'd take a drop off in the league for a couple of years if it meant we were building something properly, an actual ethos.
Can I interject? I know as an Arsenal fan, you probably don't want to hear it, but I see just sort of some similarities now, especially from like sort of post 06 Arsenal, when we went to the Champions League. We had a phenomenal team and we sort of sold off a lot of our key players. And it seemed like we were just sort of settling with the top four. And it just seemed that the club were happy with that. And we sort of stagnated. And then when sort of Arsene Wenger left, we had to do that big rehaul. And that's something I've not seen Spurs do. I feel like from the owner perspective, they're just trying to make sure the money's coming in, keep the top four, keep the check rolling. But I feel like with the players that you're buying, I just feel like they're just wrong. Do you know what I mean? Like you said, your youth team. I mean, if you look at the Premier League 2 right now, I think you're second bottom. right now. There's no youth team there, and I don't know one successful club who doesn't have a successful youth team. I can't think of one. Bayern Munich have an amazing youth team. Real Madrid have an amazing youth team. Barcelona have an amazing youth team. Arsenal, well, they're quick in it at the moment. Carrington has always been a good pipeline of players. Chelsea, they've always had a good pipeline of players. So these are what I mean. I don't see any youth coming up. And like you said, you're buying in. You're not getting that inbuilt sort of players. So we'll look at Saka. They come for the club. They know the values of the club, so they live and breathe the club. And those players then emulate that and spread it onto newcomers who are coming in because it shows how much they're worth. And I think back to when we bought Thierry Henry, and I remember he was nervous because of the players that we had at the club at the time, and he fed on that. And I'm not seeing that winning mentality, and I think that comes from top to bottom. But I think rightly said, you need that big rehaul. There needs to be a big reinvestment. Like you need to take an L for like 2 seasons, like we did. We were eighth twice, got fifth. Yeah, like, do you know what I mean? Like, it happens. But the thing is, I wasn't Mikel Arteta out ever, because I knew that there was a project. I knew that there was something in place, not rather than a patch job where when we got Unai Emery and he bought bloody what, like we had Lichtsteiner and Mustafa. Do you know what I mean? We had all these crap players, aging players, just to come in and try and do a patch job, Socrates and all this. And it wasn't doing justice, and that's where I was losing touch. And I think from a fan's perspective, because I got a lot of friends who are Tottenham fans, I asked them at the start of the season. None of them said none of you genuinely believe that you would win something. Genuinely, it was always, I hope we win something. I hope we do something. I hope we get it. But I never actually remember hearing someone saying, "Nah, with chess, like we've got it."
But
I said that. I said that. I thought we was going to win something with chest. I genuinely believe we would win something because of the manager we brought in.
FA Cup. That was it. The FA Cup.
Yeah, we didn't think we were going to win.
You said it a minute.
Why though? Why? Can I ask why? Sorry. Why did a single Spurs fan think Antonio Conte coming in would make us win something?
Sava, but you clearly seem like you're not an Antonio Conte fan. You talk.
No.
No. Wait, I'm not saying. Wait, you sound like you're not a fan of the way he plays football. So you didn't believe in his ethos or how he would bring a trophy to this club. I looked at the fact that he'd won trophy at every club he won. He the back end of last season, he's shown the ability that he can take on with his Tottenham team and how much he can improve the Tottenham team. The Tottenham team fell off at the start of this season due to those players not maintaining the levels that he already set at the back end of last season. But if they maintain that level, then we much well could have went on to win a trophy. And not being funny, the reason we didn't win trophies this season is because we went out in singular knockout games against teams that are far poorer than us. Nottingham Forest, Sheffield United, and AC Milan. One-off games that we just wasn't good enough. So again, I don't really blame the manager for that. I blame it on the players, and that's these loser players that have gone out in all these trophies against lower end sides over the last 5, 6, 7, 8 years.
So why is that not on your? Why is that not on the manager that you? Right. So hang on.
Time and time again with these same players.
You believed, right? This is what makes me laugh, right? I'm going to say this, and this is why Spurs fans will hate me, and other fans from other clubs will think I'm realistic, right? Spurs fans can't have it both ways. It's, oh my God, Antonio Conte's come in. He's this winner. He's going to win us things. Bang, let me put my chest out and tell everyone in the world and Conte's going to win us stuff. Cool. Right. We then play really bad teams in cup competitions. We play Nottingham Forest's B team and go out 2-0. We play Sheffield United's B team, and their only player of note was a 37-year-old Billy Sharp. We get knocked out by Mura. We get knocked out by Middlesbrough in the FA Cup last year. But when we get knocked out, all of a sudden, this manager that everyone lauds, who is meant to be this brilliant manager, it's not him, it's the players. But yet, when we beat Man City, when we beat Chelsea, when we beat Liverpool,
when you look at the performances, that's when you look at the performances in all those games. When you beat those big teams, you can clearly see it's a managerial performance. The way that we play, the team have.
Why?
What do you mean why? Because when you sit back against Manchester City for 85 minutes and you hit them on a counter-attack, it's clearly something that's been put into the player's head by the manager. When we counter them time and time again and break down that back line, it's the way that
he put that into their heads when they're playing Nottingham Forest and Sheffield United?
Set them out that way. When we're losing against the likes of Nottingham Forest and Sheffield United, and yes, I'm not going to say the blame is completely taken away from Conte. There's in-game tactical changes that he can make to impact that game for the better.
That he never does.
Which he didn't. But we're not going to take away from the fact that we lost to those teams because these shitty players that play at the back that have been for this last 6 or 7, 8 years, the likes of Ben Davies, the likes of Davinson Sanchez, the likes of Jaffet and Tanganga, the likes of Eric Dyer, these same players that are let us down against Colchester United.
No. See. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go.
Let us down against all these same bloody clubs.
Here we go. If you want to know why Spurs fans are laughed at and why we are ridiculed, is because of the nonsense coming out of your mouth right now. Right? I'm going to call you out for what it is. Right? These are such.
So what are you talking about these players?
Hang on. These are such easy things to do. We look at these games and go, oh, it was Dyer, Davis, and Sanchez. Cool. Now, whilst I don't rate any of those centre-backs, and sorry for going on to, right? Whilst I don't rate any of them, right? In all of those games, yeah, Harry Kane was a part of every single one of those games.
I blame him
on.
too.
No, hang on. Right. But hang on. So now we're saying Harry Kane's not good enough to score against Nottingham Forest, Sheffield United.
He's not good enough.
Right, hang on. Let me, right. Hang on. I'm sorry. It cannot be that when we win, you can see it's a managerial performance. When we lose these embarrassing games, it's all the players, right?
It's not all the wins.
Hang on. Let me finish. Dude, you got to let me finish, right? We can't live in a world like that. We can't live in a dictatorship where it's either this or that. And this is what Spurs fans do, right? We beat Chelsea and West Ham. Fans are in the stadium making videos with like 20,000 people, letting off flares.
No one said it's either or. It can be both.
Hang on, let me finish.
We're spoken.
Let me land at my point. You got to let me land at my point. You're
not rebuttaling my point. You're saying that it's either. I never said it's either or.
Hang on. I didn't say you said it's either or, right? I said our fans do, right? The problem is this. If you've got Antonio Conte and you as a fan want to stick your chest out and give the big one that we're going to win something now because Antonio Conte's here, when that doesn't happen, when that fails, you knew the players we had, but yet you still backed the manager to get them over the line. That is now on the manager because you knew the players we had. You knew the players. Sheffield United played what?
Saba, 17-year-old. The players we have are good enough to beat Nottingham Forest, to beat Sheffield, to beat these teams.
Yep.
Whether I think these players are shit, and they are, they're still better than those players that play for those teams for a reason. They play for Tottenham and they don't play for Sheffield United in the Championship.
Exactly.
For a reason. They're shit. When they go out, and these players prove to us that they're worse than we thought they was. And that these players are not maintaining the higher level. Eric Dyer last season, Sava, was he not one of the most improved Tottenham players? All right.
No, I think he was crap last season as well.
You can say he wasn't, but then the England manager would disagree. A lot of rival fans would disagree because everyone agrees that Eric Dyer got himself back into the England team because he had a very good season.
Oh no, a manager that picks Eric Dyer over players like Tomori.
So the point is that these players didn't maintain the good levels that Conte brought them up to, and then when they began to get
maybe Conte's not as good as you think.
Well, maybe
just a crazy
record. His managerial record would show otherwise. So
here we go. So we get to it. So we get to it.
And say he's not that good would just be lies.
No. See, again,
a manager that's won as many Serie A titles as him,
George. If you're going to paraphrase correctly, my friend. Don't paraphrase and change words. Right. I said to you, maybe he's not as good as you think. I didn't say. Right. I said maybe he's not as good as you think. You turn around and said you don't think he's good. I think Antonio Conte is a serial winner who is excellent when he has got the finished article. Every club he's won at, he has gone in, made 2 or 3 signings.
That's live. That's where you know. Wait. If you're gonna come with your facts. At every club he goes into, he signs 10 or 12 players.
Didn't even finish my point.
2 or 3.
Didn't even finish my point.
2 or 3 players.
Didn't finish my point.
2 or 3 players. He changes the whole team.
If you let me finish my point.
Sava, but you
can let me finish my point or not?
You started off saying it's 2 or 3 players.
But you didn't let me land on my point. You've got a real issue.
It was going nowhere because again, you're talking about him coming into a team. How do
you know where my point's going if you don't let me finish it?
George, you do realise when he went to Chelsea, he only signed 3 players.
Jesus Christ, it's not
Marcus
right.
Alonso and N'Golo Kante.
And won the league, right?
And he won the league.
And he won the league, right? So George, if you're going
to, how many signs did he make with Inter Milan? In the same amount of tenure, 2 years. How many signs did he make?
Hang
wanna
on,
check
but
that?
wait, hang on, but we're not talking about 2 years. We're talking about Inter Milan.
An 18
Yes or no?
months.
You've
Yeah.
got to
Guys,
let
what-
someone
guys,
finish their
let's-
sentence,
let's-
man.
let's-
It's
let's have a land-
ridiculous.
let's have a land his point for a moment, guys. Let him land his
If
point.
I can't finish my sentence, this is pointless. In year one at Chelsea, what did Conte do? In his first season, what did he do? Just to answer, what did he do in his first year?
Answer your question. It's your point. You don't want me to speak. Go for it, bro.
Oh my goodness, you are bloody hard work, ain't you? In his
Saba,
first
it's
year,
your point. Make the fucking point and move on, man. Shit. Like, you want me to stop speaking? I'm stopping speaking. Make your point.
Jesus, you are everything wrong with Tottenham fans. Right. In his first year, Antonio Conte won the league at Chelsea. Yeah, we all agree. In his first year, he won the league with Inter Milan. We agree, right? Because the clubs he go to are big clubs with great players, right? They are big clubs with very good players that he can sprinkle some stardust on and they win. He's come to Tottenham Hotspur, where all of a sudden he's realised, oh, I don't have all the cream of the crop players. My methods don't actually work unless I've got the top players. And what did we see him do to try and be a manager? Nothing. He put out the same 11 with the same formation. His substitutions were awful. So I'm going to call it out right now. No, Conte is not as good as we think as a manager. He is a serial winner with top players immediately. And he's never going to get that at Spurs. So when fans are going, yeah, I put my chest out. I said Conte would win something. More the fool you. More the fool you for not knowing him and not knowing our club. Done.
I just think with Tottenham, it's an internal club issue. I don't think this group of players that was under Pochettino, that had the pinnacle of Tottenham in recent years, which was a third place finish, is ever going to win a trophy. I think there's
Agreed.
too many issues surrounding that group of players at this club. And it's like teams in the NBA and stuff. Sometimes you just need to blow it up and go, yes, it nearly worked. It didn't work. It nearly worked. Blow it up. Harry Kane's got to go. Son's got to go. You have to hit the reset button completely.
Agreed.
You have to go find a new identity and you have to almost rebrand Tottenham Hotspur.
Yeah.
And yes, I
Agreed.
understand. I understand the heritage and the history of Tottenham of we like to be playing on nice football and this, that, and the other. Whatever your new identity is, it has to be a clear identical change from what you have now. Because right now you're seen as that side that are nearly there but never quite. But you're too good to hit the reset button. You've got Harry Kane, you've got Heung-min Son, you've got Christian Romero, who people think highly of. You've got Kulusevski. And even in years gone by, you had the better version of Lloris and this, that, and the other. So you needed to hit the reset button, but you were too good to hit the reset button. So you just went, we'll do one more year. We'll do one more year. We'll do one more year. Maybe this is the one.
And
Maybe
then
this
it never
one.
came.
I think
So
the
now
biggest
you have,
issue
now
is
you
the
have
youth.
to you have to cut it off now. You have to
100%.
cut it off and go. We do it. We reset.
You know,
We go again.
I think that's part of it as well. I want to something that was said earlier though, about top four and not winning. Now, Spurs for me are almost the embodiment of this, but it's actually crept into football. This notion of getting top four is better than winning a trophy. This notion that I've heard people say in the last few weeks, winning the Europa League is more embarrassing than not being in it, which again is a strange notion to have. You win a Carabao Cup, it's called a Mickey Mouse Cup. You had Poch at the helm that was talking about we don't want the little trophies, we only want the big ones. That isn't just a bad mantra to have at a club that leads to failure. It's actually, football isn't dying, but it's definitely it's a tick. It's a parasite on football, that belief that winning trophies isn't important. You saw Jamie O'Hara, one of your chief cheerleaders online, one of your pundits out there that is, he's seen as a big Tottenham man, but whether people like him or not isn't relevant to that stage. He put a tweet out asking Spurs fans, what would they prefer? Harry Kane to be the all-time England Premier League goal scorer or for him to win a Prem? And they were all like, no, that record will last forever. That record's elite. It's crap play. I saw one Spurs fan right, but loads of crap players have won a Premier League, so what does it matter? And that goes back to that straw man argument. When I say you can't compare Harry Kane to Aguero until he's won some major trophies, people say, well, Anderson and Nicky Butt and Wes Brown won trophies. Are they better than Harry Kane? And it's that straw man argument. Nobody's claiming that. There is a problem at Tottenham, which is where I still think Sava and I still think George. I reckon 80% of your crowd that go to your games and lots of your fans online, if your football was pretty and if the media are talking nicely about you and you've got a star like a Kane or a Berbatov or someone that everyone rates and likes, that is enough. The expectation of having to win and then being ridiculed for not winning, I don't think Spurs fans like it. I think Spurs fans like to be on the side. They'd like to be the side chick. They don't like to be the main attraction that the pressure is on. Until you're prepared to accept the pressure that comes with being a top 6 club that challenges, I don't think that the club can even do the reset that Tom's talking about or change the expectations. And I think what you said right, Sava, in one area massively, which is if you don't rate your players and you don't rate the mentality of your club, why every summer do you give it the big un to rivals that you're going to do something?
Every year.
Every
year.
But Terry, you also said in a video earlier to this that it wasn't just Tottenham fans bigging up Tottenham this summer. So we wasn't rightly so. Rightly so, we believed into it. Like Manchester.
Why
United
rightly
fans,
so?
Like, Sava, stop. I'm talking now.
Oh, it's not nice, is it? It's not nice. Just checking. Just checking. You knew what it felt like.
How about you?
Just checking. You knew what it felt like, bro.
And I'll continue now. So how about I continue?
Lessons to be learnt there, isn't there,
keep that trap of yours shut now. So Terry, as you said earlier, other fans, rival fans, were hyping up Tottenham to be the big thing this season because they believed in Antonio Conte, the big manager, bringing a trophy, if not pushing Tottenham on to potentially challenge for a trophy. And the players at the back end of last season showed the level that they could rise it to. And that's why it wasn't just Tottenham fans that believed it. It was the whole of the Premier League thought that Tottenham was going to perform at a much higher level than we did this year.
So I get that. Personally, I didn't. I said I predicted you coming 5th and then 4th when I saw Liverpool and Chelsea not be as good as they were. So I get your point. Other people did, and they were as equally wrong. But the difference is that Man United fans, their job isn't to put pressure on your board and club to change its ways. Chelsea fans' job isn't to help make your club better. Fans have such an important part of football clubs, in my opinion, with the most important part of football. We control what our clubs do. Our behavior, how easily we give the clubs our money, how easily we turn up to games, how easily we forgive is the difference. You look at teams like, look at Bayern Munich, what they've done. Now, they've got a different scenario, and I understand that. They're a one-horse race to a degree. Their manager has been sacked because their fans are angry that they're in a title race. Title races, even if you're top of the league in a title race and won 8 out of 8 games in the Bundesliga, it's not acceptable. In the Premier League, I don't expect Tottenham to have those kind of standards, but the levels need to be increased. A Man United fan on YouTube or a City fan on YouTube predicting you making the top 4 doesn't get away from the fact that your internal ambition as a club is weak. We're coming 4th and going out of the Mickey Mouse trophy is seen as something to celebrate. And that isn't a dig at you, mate, because you wanted to win a trophy this year, and I give you credit for that. You should want to win. Saying you're going to win is a different thing, but wanting to win is what you all should do. It's why I always big up expressions, because as fun as he is, as informative he is, he wants his club to win, and he's angry that they're not. And for me, the club is the fans. When I say like Liverpool are embarrassing themselves, I'm generally talking about the fans. When I say, you are your football club. You control your destiny. Fans that don't think they control how their club behaves are fools. You have all the power. It's just about whether you are willing to yield that power or not. And I just don't think Spurs fans care enough about winning. And what I see, listen, Harry Kane doesn't need to win trophies to be a legend. Yes, he does, because every other legend all the legends in your club's history before him won fucking trophies. Why shouldn't he? The lack of standards at Spurs is the big problem for me. It really is, boys. And I do feel sorry for you all. Like, I feel sorry for you. You guys pay more money than anybody else to watch football. You've got the most beautiful stadium, and there's nothing at the end of that. It's like having a car but no petrol.
Yeah, but Terry, we do the same thing every summer. Every summer, during this summer, I see people I've said the last few weeks on here. All these Spurs fans talking about, well, we've got Conte, they've got Arteta. We've just finished above them. We've got Champions League. They've got Europa League. They're in our rearview mirror. Our fans don't learn. First of all, they never know when to keep grounded. Second of all, we've got to stop pretending that managers win trophies. If you do not have good players, you are not going to win trophies. It is that simple. But we did it when Jose came in. People went, trophies are coming. Jose's here. When Conte turns up, Conte's coming. Trophies are here. Now, this isn't about whether I like his style of football, which is some of the worst I've ever seen at White Hart Lane, by the way. But this is about he was coming in with the same players, and the players we brought in are not good enough to win a title, to challenge for a title. So where did everyone think this trophy was coming from? That's what no Spurs fan can answer me, other than look at his track record at bigger, successful clubs. So why did they think Spurs were going to win a trophy? Is the question that I'm asking. No Spurs fan can seem to answer it with a logical explanation.
I think to add on. Oh, sorry, Terry. Just to
Oh,
insert,
yeah,
I think.
go
Go on, go on, go on. No, I was going to say, just to add on to it in regards to sort of chances. Sorry, Terry. In regards to like the players, a lot of Tottenham fans, they go, "Oh, we're going to buy this player, buy this player, buy this player." But when you actually look at Tottenham from an outside perspective, as like a non-Tottenham fan, right? You're not going to be able to buy the winners, the winners, like the best talent, because unfortunately, these players want to go to big clubs and win. They want to win stuff. And when you look at Tottenham historically, that's not there. And there's going to be another club that has that a history that will go in for them. So what you need to do, and this is what I've been saying, like you need to focus on your youth. Those youth players need to live and breathe the club and want the betterment of the club. And when players externally can see that these players are coming through and there's a whole new batch of your golden generation coming through, they will go, okay, I can believe in this. I can believe in this for the future. That's what we had to do. We had one of the oldest squads in the league, and then we had to reset. And then we brought in youth players in. But luckily for us, we have history of like winning, and we are a big club. We haven't won for a long time, but there was belief that this project could do so.
Well,
whereas I think in the transfer market, Spurs, you can't buy those winners. You have to create them first, and then you'll be able to buy them.
I totally
That's what I think.
There's
understand
no
that.
transfer strategy at Tottenham.
wanna-
It's either
sorry, guys,
they
I
go
just wanna
for big
interject.
names or they go for
Sorry,
whatever.
Tom,
It doesn't
Tom,
make sense.
Tom, sorry, I'm going to interject. I've got to get through these super chats and kind of slightly move it on to the next point around Tottenham. But this says AC. So Antonio Conte is lauded for beating City and Chelsea, but it's the players' fault for losing to Sheffield United and to Forest. B team can't have it both ways. Sava is bang on, is what Perchy says here.
You can if you analyze the game, but okay.
Conte didn't manage either of those wins, though.
Again,
Who's the assistant manager?
I'm not gonna.
It's all his tactics. It's all the same substitutions he would do, Tom. Honestly, watch the games. It's the same routine every time. You're chasing a game and he leaves 3 centre-halves on against Sheffield United. Awful management. Just awful management time and time again. And if his name was AVB or Sherwood, he would be getting pelters for how bad he was.
This here from Hussein says, stupid argument. Conte is a serial winner, but not a good manager. Can you make the same argument about Pep? Has Pep ever had a bad team? Conte is still an elite manager, same as Mourinho, that had a bad stint at Spurs. Stupid is what Hussein has got to say to you, Sava. I assume it's to you about the Conte thing. I'm not calling you stupid. I mean,
and Terry, I agree. Hence why Jose shouldn't have joined us. Hence why Pep Guardiola should never come to us. This applies to all top serial winning managers. They're not managing Tottenham Hotspur. That's why they've been serial winners. It's that simple.
I hear you. This goes on to say, I'm a Guna, but Sava love is what Ronnie Michaels has got to say. This here says, if he was that good, he would have done it with Spurs, what Tuchel did with Chelsea. The players were also poor there. Always excuses is what Junior has to say about the matter here. Random one, but Blue says, I hope everyone is ready for Paul's funeral this Saturday. I am, my friend. I'm very much looking forward to it. That's from a City fan. Thank you. There's a little reminder here. We'll come on to Arsenal a bit later, but to Monty from Laddie that says, can someone remind this Arsenal fan that Arsenal haven't won anything yet? Is what he said there.
More trophies than Chelsea, but yeah, sure.
There we go. On Spurs, though, they are linked with Nagelsmann. The report that's come out this afternoon from Germany is that the manager is open to joining, but is unlikely to do it quickly, as he is waiting on the potential of Real Madrid or Chelsea to come in for him in the summer. Is that? I want to go to Nobbins first, because Nobbins ain't spoke yet, and we're 33 minutes in.
Hello.
I know you're a Spurs fan, but Nagelsmann, is he the right type of manager for Tottenham, and do you think they'll get him?
I guess it depends what you want. I think that Sava made the overarching point that it doesn't really matter who comes into Spurs. That if Spurs want to win a league title, for example, it's probably not going to happen regardless of who you bring in, bar some sort of unbelievable outlier season like a Leicester season, for example. Spurs have like the 5th highest wage bill in the Premier League, and they're currently 4th in the table, so that tracks. If they want to win the league, they're going to have to spend more money, essentially. So is Nagelsmann the right man? Could be, but is he the right man to win Spurs a trophy, the league title? No, I don't think anyone is, unless there is a plan to actually invest properly. And it's a shame, I think, because I don't know what Severin George's thoughts are on the Spurs squad as a whole. But as an outsider looking in, I feel like there is a team there, but they do need a keeper and like 3 centre backs. So there is a lot of money to be spent there. But I think
that's almost half a team there.
But I think the front three is good. I think the midfield is Benton Core's injury is obviously bad, but I think with Pedro Porro he might be a good player. The main issue is the defense and goalkeeper for me, and that might be why maybe they could go for players. Conte, I mean, I know he's not there anymore, but if he was still there, players like the Bastoni and Skriniar, who I think their contracts are coming up at Inter Milan, for example. So that's sort of like league title winning players on a Spurs budget, but the issue is that those players are few and far between. And I think Skriniar might be going to PSG, for example. So it's a tricky one. No idea if the Nagelsmann news. I don't know how concrete that is. I'd like to see him in the Premier League, but I would. They've had Mourinho, didn't work, and they've had Conte, didn't work. Is Nagelsmann going to come and make it work in that respect? I'm not sure.
Do you know what's interesting? Before I go to the Spurs fans, I get a lot of stick for always sticking it to Spurs, but I think Nagelsmann would be sensational for them. I actually think someone who is a project manager, somebody that, look, whether they give him the tools to win a Premier League is another conversation. But I think he's the kind of person that can give you a chance of winning a trophy with what you spend on players and the individuals that you have. I think he's somebody that wouldn't do what Jose and Conte does, where they get angry if they're not being bought the very best players out there. I think he'd look at a signing like a Jed Spence as an absolute piece of brilliant business, someone that he could develop and turn into a better football player. And equally, I think it's a great move for Nagelsmann because I think Bayern Munich probably did. I think Bayern Munich came a bit too early for him. He's young. He's too young. And I don't mean this bit to sound rude, but I think Spurs is a great stepping stone for him as well. I think it's a great place for him to go, be exposed to more pressure from the media, from the scrutiny of the Premier League, more eyes watching you than the Bundesliga, and to really develop himself. And maybe after that, move on to something else if Spurs are not in the position to help him achieve his ultimate goals. And I think he's still only, 34, 35 years of age. This man's younger than me. It's crazy when I talk about a manager who's younger than I am, but I think it'd be a bit of sensational business. What's your thoughts on it, George? Is this the guy you want, or is it somewhere else that you would like?
No, I agree. I think he's my number one man for Tottenham's replacement. We looked at him a few years ago, I believe, for the Poch replacement, Jose, one of them. It was definitely Poch, and he was my number one guy. I thought he was the guy that we should have brought in to change him, but we just couldn't get it done because of Bayern Munich. Like you said, I think he went to the big job just a bit too quick. I feel like Tottenham is the club that works for him. Like you said, it's a stepping stone. I agree, it is a stepping stone in his career. He's a young manager. He needs a club where he can build at, and we're the perfect club for that. We're in a position where we need to strip up the team. We need a rebuild, and we probably need to give a manager a 4-year contract where we're just going to let them. We're going to give them the time. We're going to give them the time to build what they want and to put a real project and their stamp on this team. So I'm looking forward to that. I just hope that we can give him, like you said, the tools to do his job to the best of his ability, because most of the managers that come to Tottenham don't get the tools from the board. But if he does, because he's a bit more patient, he's not like Conte and Jose. I don't feel like he's going to be as demanding. He's not going to want as much change as soon as they would. So if they can work out a nice balance and we can give him what he wants whilst also work in the Levy way, which we'll have to accept, I think it will be a good appointment. I think he plays some great football. It will be attractive to the Tottenham fan base. And I definitely think he's the best option for us, being a young manager and someone that still has a lot to show. He's still got a lot to prove. So, no, I'm all for Nagelsmann.
I get that. Are you excited about this, Sava, or are you grumpy about it?
When is Sava excited?
You're on mute, bro, by the way.
First of all, I'll disregard that little dig by George, who doesn't know a single thing about me. But okay, listen, Nagelsmann is the reason. Managers like that are the reason of what I was brought up on at Spurs. So when I get all these jokers saying you're grumpy, yeah, I'm grumpy because all of these pragmatic, tactical managers have come in that you all love off, that come in, don't do a single thing for the fans, and then we go, they're gonna win. They're so good, they're winners. No, let's get a manager that's forward thinking, wants to play some football, is coming with some fresh ideas for this century, not last century, Yeah, managers that have more than one formation, i.e., Conte, the dinosaur Conte, 3-4-3, win, lose or draw, 3-4-3, 3-4-3, never change it up. Nagelsmann in his last 4 games at Bayern Munich tried 4 different formations. If you go back and look at it, right? I would love that. He won't need the £70 million centre back that Antonio Conte craves. He'll play with Papa Sarr, a youngster, Pedro Porro and Udogie as attacking fullbacks, Christian Romero, Kulusevski, Basuma. There's the nucleus there of some good, young, hungry players with a good engine. So get him in. Where I do agree with George is, this next manager that comes in, it needs to be 4 to 5 years. The Spurs fans need to be patient. The Spurs fans need to realise that the moment top 4 drifts away from their sight and they go, oh my God, we've got to sack him because we want top 4, just realise this is a process. We're building. Nagelsmann will build. Conte's not a builder. So this, for me, is complete utopia compared to Antonio Conte. So I'm all for it.
Terry, I think as well, you hit the nail on the head with the word project manager. I think for Spurs, you do need that. You need a project because you need to rebuild. And I think Tom said it earlier, you need a reset. You have to have that reset. And it's like when you had Poch got you from effectively comical to in the Champions League final. That's the sort of manager, and Nagelsmann gives me that vibe. Do you know what I mean? Like, he definitely needs to have a project, people he can believe in. He can find the young youth players. He can cultivate them into the type of player he wants. So I think it'd be a good signing. I think it would actually be a good addition for you, to be honest. But I think you need to get away from trying to get that elite manager to come in when you don't have the players and the mentality of the players to come in and emulate him. And I think that was sort of your downfall with Conte, personally.
I can't lie. I'm still yet to be moved by Nagelsmann. I think he's one of the more overrated managers in the world at the minute. I really think that he gets a lot of praise for being young. But when it comes down to it, in the big moments, when he needs to prove his worth as a manager, he crumbles. I've seen him, albeit I haven't watched as much Bundesliga, but I watched a lot of him when he was at Leipzig, because there was a belief that he was going to be our next manager. Thank God for that. He's not happening. And then I watched him at Bayern, because this season, Sadio Mane went over there, so I decided, I'll have a look there. At RB Leipzig, the man held 5 to an Ole Gunnar Solskjaer United. He held 4 to one of the worst Liverpool sides I've ever seen. His teams are not set up to defend; they're set up to just attack. So there's often games where it's shootouts, which I don't think is a sustainable style of football. Yes, he can cultivate young talent, but if you're not going to bring in the young talent, then what are you going to cultivate? You're not going to be able to shift the deadwood, so he's going to have to deal with those. This is a manager who has had very limited success. I don't believe he would have won the Bundesliga title this year. I thought it was too inconsistent.
Sorry, has he again? If you look at his career, he started at Hoffenheim at the age of 28 and took them over in a relegation battle.
Yep.
Won 7 out of 14 games to steer them clear. The next season, he took them from a relegation battle to top 4, playing really good football. Took them into the Champions League, then got the move to RB Leipzig, who I think everyone recognised as being a very good football team. He's gone to Bayern Munich in his first big job, won the double, and this year they're 1 point off the top.
He didn't win the DFB Pokal.
Okay, sorry, won the league, right? And then this season he's played 8 Champions League games, winning 8 Champions League games, beaten Barcelona twice, Inter Milan twice, and PSG twice. So when you're saying he doesn't do it in the big moments, how many big moments has he really had to do it in his career?
Let's look at it this way.
It's a bit harsh, isn't it?
But Bayern Munich and RB Leipzig, he was expected to go into that Leipzig team and win a trophy. I'm not going to say win the title, because it's Bayern Munich. They were still the superior side, but he was expected to go in and win a trophy. He didn't, but he still got the move to Bayern. He's now at Bayern. He won the league last year. Well done. Didn't win the DFB Pokal, which is poor by Bayern standards. This year was going to miss out on the title against Borussia Dortmund, I do believe.
They're only 1 point behind, right? That's like a draw. They're 1 point off the top with 10 games to go.
Again, yeah, that's fine. I believe he wasn't going to win that title, in the same way that I don't believe that Manchester City are going to win this title. I don't believe that Bayern were going to win that title. So I don't think he would have won that title. Maybe he would have won the Pokal. I can't lie. I haven't checked if they're still on the Pokal or not. Maybe they would have won that. But I don't believe he was getting past Manchester City in the Champions League either. Because let's be honest, it gets to the Champions League, he will be tactically outclassed by Manchester City and Pep Guardiola, and they will crumble on it. This is a manager who, yes, he's young, yes, he's got potential, but that's what he's living off as a manager right now. I've not seen any tactical analysis. I've not seen him go into a properly big game against a team he wasn't expected to beat or was expected to be a close game. Because let's not lie and think and act like PSG was going to be close. We all knew by getting past PSG. So I don't believe he's that good of a manager. In the same way that I'd never believed Hansi Flick was that good of a manager. So we're looking at it now. Yes, he might be the perfect Tottenham manager because he's young, he's a project manager, he plays a little bit of nice football. But that's not moving the needle for me. That's not moving the needle. And if he's a stepping stone manager, then what do? Because there's no other manager in the world who plays the same style as him. So guess what? You're going to be in the same situation once he leaves for Real Madrid, because that's his dream job. Let's say he gets that move to Real Madrid. He goes there.
Why would he? He's not a good manager, according to you. Why is he going to Real Madrid?
I don't believe he is, but Real Madrid have him on their shortlist. They've had him on their shortlist for years. Again,
if he goes to Real Madrid, he's got to be pretty good.
Yeah, Bayern Munich and Real Madrid, but he's not a good manager.
I don't believe he is, no.
I guarantee you one thing, though. If he does Bayern Munich and then Spurs and Real Madrid, I bet when you look at his CV, the only place he doesn't win a trophy is Spurs.
I don't believe he is.
I want to go to some of the super chats. Before I do that, I want to say to the viewers, if we hit 750 likes while we're live, we're going to gift out up to 50 free memberships to you, the viewers, to you. So get hitting that like button. It costs you nothing to do and free to enter. You just got to make sure you're hitting that like button. Some super chats here. The first one says, Nagelsmann with laughing emojis. See, the thing is that beggars can't be choosers. Paul Shit fans should be happy with Big Sam. Also, I bet even he would turn down Tottenham, is what he's essentially saying there. Ray here says Julian Nagelsmann is stay clear of Spurs. You go nowhere near them. Levy only cares about making money, not winning, is what Ray has got to say. This here says George and Patrick are the most deluded Spurs fans. I was going to say they're not deluded; they've just got their opinions. But I appreciate the donations, but I don't think they're deluded. By the way, they've just got different opinions.
Thank you, my bro.
It's all right. I don't actually have people that I
was talking to that guy.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were talking to me. That's all right. Anyway, the front of George earlier saying he just just play in the Europa and win that. Not even that level. Couldn't win the Conference League. Deluded fans. Spurs get worst first.
Coming from a team that never won Europa League before. It's great coming from you, but you know.
Nagelsmann is overrated, but he's Tottenham level, is what AJ says here. So kind of semi-agreeing with you, Tom. And this here from Ruder Boy says the lack of ball knowledge here is insane. I think he's having a go at you, Tom. I'm gonna hedge your bet and think he's having a go at you.
I'll tell you right now, Tottenham Hotspur would be much better off getting Ruben Amorim than Julian Nagelsmann.
But you want to have a love affair with Ruben Amorim.
I don't want. I want Amorim, but Tottenham Hotspur will be better off.
Yeah, but you want him. You want him. Like, I mean, I think you've got a poster of him in your bathroom.
Man. He's a good.
I know he is. He's stunning. Amorim is a good shout for Spurs. One with Sporting with far less resources than other two big clubs. Spurs clearly also has an open line of communications with Sporting after Porro, and now, how do you pronounce that name?
Ugarte. One of our centre-mids. I've heard that he's potentially signing a new contract, so that's why they think it's off the board.
Okay. Yeah, it could be. I mean, they're probably going to put him on a new contract so they get a bigger bit of compensation when somebody else comes in for him. But viewers, hit the like button, like I say, and subscribe. Moving the conversation on to the next one that's been voted in, and there was a super chat about it. Thoughts on Man United possibly bringing back Mason Greenwood? I don't know if to give this a little bit of context, and obviously refrain from using certain words while we're on here just because of demonetization. I don't know if you guys have read the what I can only call a PR piece in The Athletic today, which basically described all the bad things that Greenwood has done in his Man United career, not turning up when he was like 16 years old in the youth team, slagging off Ronaldo. This is what the strangest one, footballing wise, the one that annoyed me the most. was that there's been some match days where he just didn't turn up and no one knew who his whereabouts was, and that's why he weren't picked for teams. Of course, there is the big elephant in the room always with the allegations and the charges that were put against him relating to his now, again, partner who they're having a baby with. But there was an end statement which spoke about, from a source close to the player, that there's a lot of half-truths, there's a lot of things people don't know. He probably wasn't taking his career as seriously as he should have been. But now he's learned from this, he's grown from this, and he's going to come back firing and be a completely different person. When I read that, I just thought, we're gearing up to bring him back. Thoughts on that, Sava? The player coming back. How do you take, from a footballing point of view, should that happen? And do you think he'll actually be any good after a year of not playing or training?
Well, yeah, this is the thing. Look, again, we're going on the premise. If he is completely innocent of all charges and he's not being charged with anything and nothing sticking, then of course you can bring him back. However, it's never going to be as simple as that, is it? Because, you know, he's going to be in the public eye. Opposition crowds are going to be his biggest enemy. Every time he plays, they're going to sing songs about him, whether he's innocent or not. Has he been keeping his fitness up? Is he sharp? How long is it going to take him to get back match fitness? Does he fit into a new manager's plan? Since he's joined, a new manager's come in? Does he fit into those plans? And then I guess the question after that is, if not, where does he go? Who buys him? Does anyone buy a player with this hanging over them? So look, it's a tough spot. We've seen this with footballers before, without getting too deep into it. You know, some people have had their careers ruined through these allegations not being right. And what we want to make sure is, if he didn't do anything and he is innocent, that we don't want to ruin a young man's career because of hearsay. But hey, this is going to be yet another one that Ten Hag and the Man United owners, in the short space of time, they're going to have to deal with. But from seeing how you coped with the Ronaldo situation, I think Ten Hag and the board will get this right, and they will do what's best for Man United and the player. So I don't think you've got any worries.
I think there's always going to be something with it. I think if the club isn't 100% on board, there's people inside the club who don't agree with it, I don't think the club should do it. I think this will always hang over Greenwood, whether he's innocent or not. This will always hang over him. And this isn't like you said, I've decided to go read the article earlier on today. This isn't the first thing he's done. This is just a major thing. But he's also been very immature in the past. He obviously had a number of scandals during lockdown. He had the whole thing with the Iceland international trip. He's missed games in the past due to no apparent reason. He just went off the radar. No one knew where he was. But Ole Gunnar Solskjaer defended them, citing them as little injuries. You know, maybe he's turned that corner, but I don't think he's worth the stress. I really don't, especially with this added on top of it now. All the stuff that will carry on regarding United and the stuff that will be asked of the manager, of the playing staff, of everything else. I don't believe that it's simply worthwhile for United. I don't think... Yes, he's a fantastically talented footballer. We've got no guarantee how he'll come back. But from what we saw before, and he was a fantastically talented footballer. The issues and his own personality and the way he's treated his own footballing career, I don't believe he's worth the hassle. So I think the best thing United can do is just let him go. And maybe there's a club out there that ends up taking a risk on him and ends up taking the negative PR and everything. But I don't think that should be United. Not with all the corners you've turned this year.
Yeah, just on that, there's been a couple of clubs in Turkey that have offered to take him on loan. They want him. There are clubs that seemingly are willing to take him for one reason or another. So United have got options here in terms of moving him on. There are people that are willing to pay him and wanting to play football again. I get where you're coming from completely. It's not so much that I'm torn on this. I'm worried about it as a United fan, because the statement at the end of the article from a source claims that there's loads of things we don't know. My instant response to that as a 37-year-old man is, well, just tell us then. And then we can make our minds up or change our minds, or it may further cement our beliefs that what we already believe. But the problem that I've got is this, and I'll say it at the risk of people like being annoyed. Am I going to stop supporting Manchester United Football Club? Am I going to stop watching football if Mason Greenwood returns to Manchester United? The answer is, if I'm being honest, is no. The same as none of you are going to not watch Man United, Tottenham, Man United, City, Man United, Liverpool, Man United, Arsenal. If he's in the squad that day and he's going to be at your ground, or he's going to be, none of you are going to walk away from your football clubs for a single day for that. I know you're not. And same as I'm not going to stop being a Man United fan. So I'm almost in this position of I don't want it to happen. That's my personal stance right now. But I have this horrible gut feeling that it might. And if it does happen, I'm going to be blunt with you. I don't know how to react. Because what I do know is that I'm not going to go, right, I'm boycotting football forever. Partly my job. And secondly, I just know I'm not going to walk away from Man United. So I'm just almost at a point where I'm hoping everybody internally says no. Because I just don't want, as you've said, Tom, I just don't want the situation of having to deal with it. I just, as selfish as it sounds, I want it to be another club that has to handle that PR nightmare and that notion that Arsenal fans are going through it a little bit with the Thomas Partey situation, and he hasn't even been formally named. You celebrate something, yeah, but you've got this player on the pitch. I don't want that. I don't want Man United next year to win a Premier League title, hypothetically, but him to have played 15, 20 games and for the world to try and discredit it because he's playing. I just don't want that at my football club. That's a selfish reason, I know, but I just don't want it. And the guys, honestly, it's such a... as a United fan, the taste in my mouth surrounding this is as bitter as you like.
I also think, Terry, is that because you are such a big club, it's going to be like the magnifying glass is going to be on it. And because it's Manchester United with all the new I think with the new ownership as well, potentially, it could make it a whole lot worse. So I feel like for me, I think Greenwood, he can continue playing, but it does have to be elsewhere. Abroad would probably be better, because he'd be out of the limelight, out of the English media. But if he does stay in this country, it can't be at Manchester United, because everything bad that happened at Man United, and then that particular thing that happened with his girlfriend, his missus, that's just going to be shined upon, like you said, constantly. Whether you guys win a game, when he plays, it's just going to be, but you've got this guy playing for you. He's done this, he's done that, and it's just not going to reflect well on the club. So I think it's best for all parties if he does it elsewhere.
I agree. I just want to respond to something somebody said. It says, Terry, you have a daughter. What do you mean you don't know how to react? That's worse than anything the Glazers have done. Again, we're not talking about something that's happened to my daughter. So if anybody anywhere did something to my daughter, I would disassociate myself with them because she's my child. What I am stating is I don't want him playing for my football club. What I don't know how to react to is if he does, because I know I'm not going to suddenly not stop. I'm not going to stop supporting Man United. That didn't make any logical sense. I'm not going to start unfollowing Man United and not watching football if football and Man United allows him to return. That is what I don't know how to react to. The actions that we've all seen and heard, I've reacted to. I've made content on that, my friend. But you're missing my point, brother, is that I don't know how I know how I feel about him coming back. I don't know how I'll react if he actually does. Because what you'll get from people is crazy outrage, like this is the most disgraceful thing ever. But then they'll turn up and watch Man United like nothing has changed. And I almost feel like kicking off and giving it the big one like it's the worst thing ever, but still supporting and following makes you look like a hypocrite. And I don't want to be a hypocrite. Like for something, that's what I mean by I don't know the best way to respond. I actually do not know. That is what I'm talking about, my friend. Not towards these actions, but in playing for my football club again. I hope that makes a little bit more sense. Sorry, somebody else was going to say something before I...
Yeah. No, I was going to jump in as well. I think with Greenwood, I mean, there's players who've got allegations over their head and whatnot. If it's cleared, it's cleared. But the thing is, especially with Man United, because it is a PLC, it literally has stocks available to buy. It can affect it on business. So, and with Greenwood, obviously, it has the other things as well, like unprofessionalism, like sort of turning up late and the stuff in England, when he went away for England. I think what he needs to do, he needs to repair his own image. And I mean, if there are options for him to go to loan to other clubs and do that, and places like Turkey, reach out on community and stuff like that, then yeah, he would kind of need to do that. But I mean, if he's clear, he's clear. But I mean, there are sort of, I haven't really looked really too much into it. I mean, it's not really like my player or anything like that. But there are cases where players have had sort of like allegations against them, and they just didn't hold any weight. So it's just a case of looking at it. But I mean, on a Man United perspective, because it is a brand. It is a brand as much as it is a football club. It is a huge brand. So I mean, you probably, like you said, you wouldn't stop following them, but it might give you a little bit of distaste towards the club. So I think for him, it's a case of he needs to sort of repair his own image and his own professionalism.
Yeah.
and go for that way. Like, and if there are loan routes for him, I think it'll be a better option for him to go on loan and sort of take those options, really.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree with that. And as you say, it's as a United fan, it obviously feels very differently to me. For all of you watching, it's very easy. We'll just get rid of him. Just sell him. And if he plays, he'll have to deal with it. But when you're the one who actually having to deal with it, because people online are weird. Like, I mean, I shouldn't have even had to explain what I meant, but I don't know how I'm going to react. Because I know all of you five completely understood what I was referring to. People twist those words. Equally, if you cheer a game that he plays, people go, "Oh, you're celebrating a game in which he participated in. Does it mean that you agree with his behavior?" That's what things get twisted into. And the world's become a very horrible place when people try and twist any little thing into something overly offensive, if that makes sense. And they try and twist you and put you into a little box, and that's my kind of fear with this. So I hope they don't do it. But the article today, I'm going to be blunt with you, made me think that the way that Laurie Whitwell wrote it, the way it read to me, I know you've already read it yourself, Tom. It just felt like the beginnings of the return of somebody. You know, when you watch a soap and suddenly a character's been out of it for years, they start mentioning him here every now and then in episodes. You're like, Grant Mitchell's coming back soon. That's just how it feels to me. It's like a little, anyway.
I think the big thing in it though was the end part, because they said I think the quote was Greenwood said he would run through walls to be back playing for United, but then they were saying that a lot of sponsors have voiced their worries about Greenwood coming back in regarding image, and I think it was a number of people on the women's team would be really disappointed if he was reintegrated back into the squad. I think that's what United have to consider. I think that I think United just have to consider the possibility of not bringing him back. I think that Erik ten Hag has prepared to not have him back. United are playing well without him. Who knows what his return could do for the club as a whole. I think he's a fantastic footballer, and I think he deserves, because he's not being found guilty, to go and restart his football career. But I don't believe for United it's worth it to do it at United.
I totally agree with that. Grant Mitchell is coming back. Maybe. I don't know. I don't know if that's actually his back. I'll put that one back up here again. It says, would fans, rivals have a go at Ten Hag for playing Greenwood?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we know that.
Rightly so as well. Well, that would be a terrible move. I'm staggered this is even a question. The fact that United as an entity is so obsessed with image and PR and brand and marketing, and that they would risk trying to incorporate this man back into the team. This isn't hearsay. We've all seen the images, videos, listened to the audio, etc. There are many reasons why he hasn't been charged. Look up Stockholm syndrome if you don't know the answer. He cannot come back. It would be detrimental to the mentality of that dressing room, I think. Not only on the men's side. I can't remember don't know if it was Tom or someone else who mentioned it. Also on the women's side. It would be genuinely awful, and for me, it would almost be defining of Ten Hag's reign. Honestly, I would like to think he's a man of principle, and that he would take a stand and not wish to introduce any more toxic nature into this dressing room.
I agree with you completely. I really do on this matter. I think it's something we need to just move away from, unless what we've seen isn't as it seems, and if it isn't, then show us and prove it. But just telling us, "Oh no, you've misinterpreted everything," and then not explaining how, I'm not going to buy that. I can't do it. I can't be. You know what I mean? If he didn't make the marks on his girlfriend, tell us who the hell did. Like, maybe not. Maybe you can't name them, but do you get where I'm coming from? As someone as a solicitor, if you're going to bring him back, it's got to be something tangible. It can't be PR based, and he's learned his lesson. He's a better man now. It just doesn't sit right with me at all. So I completely agree with you, mate. I really, really do. Viewers, we obviously want your thoughts and your feelings. Hit likes buttons for us as well. If we hit 750, we're going to gift out some members for you. That's 750 while we are live. Some super chats here, going back on a few subjects here, but this says Nico Kovac had a better win percentage and won more at Bayern Munich than Nagelsmann, plus overall better record in the Bundesliga, but Nagelsmann is more fancied. He's obviously absolutely couldn't agree more. Pooh fans means Spurs fans, Terry. By the way, if Mourinho and Conte can't win, no one else would. Spurs are cursed by their own fans. Remember O'Hara's tweet, Terry. I do remember O'Hara's tweet. We spoke about it on the show, and I get where you're coming from. Cal here says, said it countless times, but nothing changes until those at the top, Lewis, Levy, the lot, Nagelsmann, Enrique, Poch, again, won't make a difference, is what Cal believes here. This says, evening, Terry and everyone. I think Man United should sell him and move on. You're playing well, so you don't know how the others will feel about it. Couldn't agree with you more. Couldn't agree with you more, my friend. Tom hit the nail on the head. United for the last couple of years have been improving. The women's team, this would take a significant drop if he comes back. Yeah,
and just imagine his first game back. Let's say United were to reintroduce him and bring him back. No, there'll be no discussion about the football. The manager will be asked. They'll grab interviews from the players to ask about their opinions on the situation. It will be focused on Greenwood, and that is not what United should have to deal with. If they're going to a game, they should talk about the game. But we all know that Mason Greenwood's first game back will be dominated by the narrative around Mason Greenwood, and United don't deserve that. No club deserves that.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, you mentioned the female team, female fans as well. There's so much about it. Could not agree with you all more. Next subject. We're going to move on to the next subject. I know you've got to duck out in a minute, Sav. So like, feel free to drop out.
Yeah, listen, I'll duck out now before you start your next subject. Thanks, everyone. Jules, pleasure as always. See you later, guys.
See you
Take care. Bye-bye.
Cheers, mate. Take care. So the next subject is Bukayo Saka. Brilliant for England again yesterday. Assist and a goal. Having an absolutely astounding season. But I see a big debate online last night about Saka. Some saying he is, some saying he isn't. World class. What are you saying, Monty? Is he at the peak of his powers? Is he world class? Is he the best right-sided attacker in the Premier League? Talk to me.
Yeah, no. I mean, I've said for a while. I mean, I know Saka has the potential to be world class, and I hate this term world class, and because it gets thrown around. It literally, the players it gets thrown around at is just losing weight. So I'll be honest, and I'll tell you, Saka isn't world class, but he very much has the potential to be world class.
So what is your definition of world class? Because I think that's why people feel it gets thrown around so much. Because us five will think differently about it. So what do you class as world class?
World class for me is one, you are in the top 10 in your position in the world, and you have been doing so for a good amount of time. I'm talking 5-6 seasons, easy. And don't get me wrong, Saka is probably one of the best right wings in the world at the moment. Just genuinely, I mean, he's done it in the World Cup. He's done it at the Euros. He's done it in the Premier League for the last couple of seasons. But for me to say he is world class, I think he needs to finish the season. If we do win the Prem, he will get voted for individual awards, and that also boosts his credit. And then on top of that, if he goes into the Champions League next season, and then he can do it in those competitions, that's when it really starts to add weight. And don't get me wrong, I think Saka is that close to the world class tag. I will struggle to find many right wings that are better than him right now. Whereas if say you go to Liverpool, you've got Salah, right? He's a world class player. He hasn't been at his best this year, but because of his history, what he's been doing over the last 5-6 seasons, he's a world class player.
I don't think you need 5 to 6 seasons though. I think because then you'll wait. Because what if someone has 3 really good seasons and a bad season? Does the cycle restart or something?
No, I don't think it's.
I think 2 to 3 years at the level Saka's been at, that qualifies him.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think if you're playing like the international games as well, when you're doing international tournaments, it can kind of speed it up. Like look at Mbappe for instance. He did it at the World Cup. He literally carried his team to bloody World Cup final, and got them through. That's a bit more credit. Whereas with Saka, because I know a lot of people say he is world class, and I don't think he's there yet. But I know he's going to be world class, and I've said this for years. Bukayo Saka will be one of the best players in the world in his position, much like say Martinelli. I think Martinelli will become a world class player.
Do you not think Saka's already one of the best in the world? Because I can't think of very many right-sided.
No, agree.
But Terry, don't you think?
I agree. But
to keep it quite blunt, he doesn't
gets
play
thrown
against
around.
the best players. He doesn't play against the best defenders in the world. So it's
And who
just
does?
unable
This
to
is
be
my
a world-class
my
player.
point. Next season, if he goes Champions League and he can do what he's doing, that's when bang, yeah, he's world class.
Well, we
Like,
say that
go on.
we said at the benchmark, but then I see players like Haaland who scoring goals quicker in the Champions League than any other player in its history, and everyone's like, yeah, but it's tap-ins, it don't mean anything. People always, when they don't like someone, they always find a reason to say they're not that good still. When Saka will start doing it in the Champions League, and people will find a way of discrediting it, and that's for me. Like, I think he'll do it. Look, I get waiting to see whether he does it. Saka's going to kill it in the Champions League. He's doing it in the Prem, which is the hardest league in the world. He does it internationally for England, both in qualifiers and at tournaments. I don't see why he's going to go into the Champions League and suddenly not perform. It's like saying Mbappe might not do well in La Liga or the Premier League as an attacker. Of course he will, because he's done it in the Champions League. Like, I already think Saka's world class. I think he's at that level. He's scoring, he's assisting, he's creating, he's consistent. He's doing it in the hardest league. He's doing it internationally. I don't think he needs the Champions League to prove the level that he's at. I don't think he does.
There's
Terrace,
no
don't you
guarantee
think
he
a
ends
world
up playing the
class-
best, though, is the George. Like, at least in the Premier League, he's guaranteed to be going up against some of, you might not believe they are, but some of the best defenders in the world. He will go up against them at some point in the season. In the Champions League, he might just end up getting the easy draw after easy draw after easy draw, get knocked out in the quarters, and he's end up playing like Victoria Pleasant, Basel, teams like that, and then he's not
Come
actually
on.
played the best.
Tom, you don't get to the
Yeah.
quarterfinals in the Champions League and play teams like Victoria Pleasant, and you're gonna bound to be come across a top team, and regardless, as Monty said, you don't become world class in just one season of doing it in the Champions League. I personally think that he's a top player. He will reach world class status, but he needs to play against the world's best defenders and prove himself, playing at how he does in the Premier League against those players to prove himself to be a world class player. I need to see it at the top level in the Champions League. Like you said, Haaland was doing it in the Champions League prior to he came to the Premier League. He made his name for himself in the Champions League for RB. Not RB Leipzig, the other one.
Salzburg.
Yeah, RB Salzburg. So he made his name, and then everyone was like, this is a top-class talent. We need to see it in the Premier League. He's doing it in the Premier League. You're like, this is a world-class player. And I feel like there is always that stature for any player. So if he plays in the Premier League, it's got to be Champions League. If it's somewhere else, people are going to say he needs to come and play in the Premier League before we see it. And I think it's just rightly so. We need to see him play against the world's best for him to be a world-class player.
Can I as well? I think with the world class tag, sorry, I think the world class tag as well. This is just me personally. When I think world class, you have to be you're the best. And what I hate is it gets just used way too much. Like as I'm just going to be realistic here. Arsenal doesn't have one world class player yet, but there are definitely 5 to 6 players in that team that have the potential to be world class. That's how I would look at it. Now that's not me going, do you know what I mean? Like Martinelli, Saka, Jesus isn't good, but I wouldn't call Gabriel Jesus world class because he hasn't done it time and time and time. Yes, he's played in City, but he was never the main focus at City. He was never the main focus at City. Now he's got the opportunity to step up, and he's doing it. He's done well this season. He's changed the way that we play. Next season, if he does the same thing again, then he's going to be in that conversation. Saka is the closest.
Gabriel Jesus needs to score 20 Premier League goals as a striker before he's a world.
But he's been in. But to be fair, he's been injured. And if you actually look at his stats, he had the most touches inside the box, and he was still in the top list in the top 5 league. And
we need goals from a striker.
Mate, he does assist as well, but you need to just watch him playing it. Anyway, regarding like the team, like if you look at Martin Odegaard, you've got Zinchenko. These are players that they can get there. They can get there, right? Gabriel was one of them. Saliba's another one. They have the potential to be it. But I'm not going to stay here and go, they're world-class players just because we're top of the league. I hate the word term world-class, and I hate how much it gets used. Like, I can only probably name 5 world-class strikers on the top of my head, like actual who I would go. They are the top of their game. They are the best of the best. That is when you get world class. There are very good elite strikers, but there are very select world class strikers. But that's just me personally. Some people have a very broad perspective on it.
I think they're world class, and I get your point. Saka might not deliver in the Champions League.
I think he will deliver. I don't get wrong. I think he will.
Scoring in Premier Leagues and scoring in World Cups, and you're not like a flash in the pan player that nobody had heard of up until the World Cup. You know, a Juve or somebody, right? Juve did it at the World Cup, but wasn't world class. If you're doing it at the World Cup, which is the best of the best of the best, that's it. The World Cup, the World Cup's got the best defenders in the world, the best strikers in the world, the best midfielders in the world. No, I know that not every club nation goes, but not all the best players are in the Champions League because
Mm.
a lot of these Arsenal players aren't in the Champions League this year, and they're the best team in England, which is the hardest league. I don't know. I feel like for me, this whole like being top in your position, you can be the best midfielder in the world. Don't mean you're world class if the standard's low. It's about consistency for me. Like, what's your take on it, Nobbins? Because I see this debate a lot online. Saka is, Saka isn't. Where do you rate him, and how far is he off world class based on your own feelings around it?
Yes, it's a good question. It's a hard question because everyone has their own definitions for world class. Me, for example, I have a very high bar for world class. I can maybe only name 5 or 6 in the Premier League, for example. I would say world class.
Who are they? Just so we understand your bar.
On the spot here. Kevin De Bruyne, Harry Kane, Salah. Probably would have Van Dijk is just having a bad season. I still would say he's world class currently. And I'm struggling from there. I don't think Haaland's world class yet. For example, I've got Messi and Mbappe. These sort of players are the people who I think are world class.
Silva?
Nah.
Rodri is 100% world class.
I think Rodri will, by the end of this season, I will agree with you there that he will be world class.
Is
But
Thiago
Alisson
Silva?
world class?
Thiago Silva, I
Alisson-
think, could be.
Alisson again is a tricky one, maybe, but
Varane?
no.
Fran,
Again,
nah.
not for
Varane.
me. Again,
A World Cup winning, 4 times Champions League winning, 5 times Champions League.
Wait. I love how Terry mentions the
not world
trophies.
class.
it's not 2017 anymore.
Because he was in,
I mean, Casemiro has a better argument than Varane.
Casemiro is world class as well.
Yeah.
He's
But
not.
Varane,
As I say, everyone has their own
Varane
definitions and stuff.
Just out of interest, why not Varane?
why?
Well, when was the last time he had a world class season?
So you think
Playing
he
very
was?
good this year.
Are you saying he was world class?
I think at Real Madrid there was probably a period where he was. Yes.
Okay. I'm just trying to understand rather than
No, yeah, of course. It's hard for me to explain. I can't give you a definition of if they do X, Y, Z because for me it's not as straightforward. In terms of Saka, I think it's already been touched on by Monty, but I think that a distinction can be made between player has world class season and player is world class. What makes a world class player partly is consistency. Will he do it next season? Will he do it the season after that? Will he do it the season after that? You know, in like a 5-year period, will 4 of those seasons be world class? For example, I think Saka will be regarded as a world class player.
It's like Foden. I don't think Foden's world class yet.
No, he's well off it. Yeah. He's nowhere near for me.
I just don't think he's there yet.
Yeah, definitely.
I think he will be world class.
Potential,
100%.
But in terms of actual world class ability now and consistency, I don't think so. It's like when people are saying, is Rashford world class earlier this season when he was scoring all those goals? I don't think so. You could say he was having a world class season, but no, you need to have a number.
Wait, can I just ask you a question? The only reason I only think that there is a potential flaw in your arguments is it because when you say consistency, is it they have to reach a certain age then before they even are considered world class? Because a lot of these young players, as you say, Mbappe is definitely world class. No one can take that away from him. And he was world class from when he took France to win the World Cup at 18, 19 years old. He was already a world class player. But do you think that they can have that 1-2 seasons and become a world class player, or they need to do it to 3 or 4 to be world class?
Maybe if the level is there, like like R9 Ronaldo levels, or Mbappe levels, where it is like, and where from a young age
he was ridiculous. He had the flair.
Yeah, if he's ridiculous, if you hit such a high bar, then I guess maybe you can forego having 3, 4, 5 seasons. But Mbappe is a very unique player, and R9 Ronaldo was a very unique player.
As well is because you said Haaland's not world class, and Haaland's obviously on like his 4th amazing season.
And that's why I think
goals already.
And that's why I think at the end of this season, I think I probably will change my mind on that. But someone asked me sort of like just before the World Cup, do I think Haaland's world class? And I said, no, not yet. But maybe we're probably at the end of the season.
At least you're consistent, and you're not saying City have got 23 world class players and nobody else has got.
No, I just think
I just hate how much it gets used. Like it pisses me off because then it's like, well, what is world class? Like world class is the best of the best, and it just gets splashed about. Like you've got Victor Osimhen. I won't say he's world class yet.
Yeah, I think it's a weird one. I think for me, my standards are probably quite low compared to you. I just say if you're one of the top 5 players in your position, you have been for the last 2 to 3 years, you're world class. I think the overall standard of players that are in world class has decreased in terms of if you were to go back 5-10 years, if I was to ask you all the world-class centre mids, you'd be rattling off some of the all-time greats. And now, because we haven't seen them for an extended period of time, we're not putting them in those same conversations, really. But when it comes to Saka, I've seen him go up against some of the best left-backs in the world right now. We can only play what's in front of him, and I've seen him go up against some of the best left-backs in the world, and the only one I've seen who's had minimal problems is Robertson. Even in the World Cup, the whole argument that he needs to go play the best of the best. The best left back in the world last year or this year has been Theo Hernandez, according to most people. Theo Hernandez was
Nathan
on
Ake.
absolute ropes. Nathan Ake as well, but Theo Hernandez was on absolute ropes in that World Cup quarter-final against Bukayo Saka, and he couldn't handle him. He won us the penalty. He was the best player on the pitch. I think that if someone was to put in, obviously my standards are a little bit lower than everyone else's, but if someone was to say Bukayo Saka was world class, I'd have no issue arguing it. No issue whatsoever.
I'd have no issue as well. But me personally, I just at the end of the season, if we end up winning and he carries us and he gets to like 15 goals, 15 assists, and he gets the award nominations, then I'll be like, I think across the board everyone would agree.
And I get that.
I
But
wouldn't have issue with him being called it.
Having super chat here says doing it for 5 or 6 seasons means you're entering legend status. That's kind of a mad requirement. And I get where he's coming from, because I want to use an example of Kaka. Kaka was a very good player, always. But he won a Ballon d'Or where he was clearly world class. A couple of seasons before it, he was amazing. A couple of seasons after it, he was amazing. But the drop-off it felt on a world-class level, his drop-off was pretty severe. So if you've got to be world-class for 5 or 6 seasons to be called world-class, that isn't world-class. That is like Kaka goes into that kind of, maybe not the same categories as your Ronaldinho's and your Zidane's, but he's only maybe one echelon down. Like, you are talking about legendary status, because when you actually deep a lot of top players' careers, where they actually reach their peak, very few do it for 5 or 6 years. Very, very few actually make. That's why Messi and Ronaldo are such fucking aliens, because they did it for 15. Like, legitimately, for me, it's one of those things where I look at it and just think to myself, I don't know. I think you can be world class in your first season or 2. I think Mbappe, after his second season of playing regularly, he was performing at a world class level straight away. It's just whether or not they maintain that level. And maybe once you've done it for 2 or 3 years, more people agree and accept it. But like, I think Saka's performing at that world-class level. And I think the difference is, when I'm listening to our definitions, is more, I think he's there. You lot are like, if he maintains it, then I'll say he's there. And I think we're all in the same ballpark, if that makes sense. I just think looking at him as a player, I don't know. As a United fan, it's literally scary to see how good he is and to think about the level that this kid could get to, because I don't think he's going to stop working. And that's the scary element of him. Like when I watched Phil Foden play at City, he doesn't look like he's satisfied to be as good as he is now. He's someone who wants to get better. Haaland's like that. Mbappe is like it. It's what made Messi. It's what, for me, made Messi and Ronaldo have longer and better careers than, say, a Ronaldinho. Ronaldinho, many people would argue on ability, had more than Messi and Cristiano. But I think once he got to his late 20s, he liked the party life. He wanted a beer. He wanted to enjoy it. And there's nothing wrong with that. But in terms of the status you get in the game, that determination and continuation is important. I think Saka's got all of that.
It's the humbleness as well with Saka. That's what I love the most. Yeah. The thing I love most is he is just so humble. He will happily listen to legends of the game. He'll take on, and he's just the nicest guy you'll ever meet. Do you know what I mean? Like, as a person, I don't think there's a better custodian of what a player should be and a model professional than like sort of Bukayo Saka. And I would argue, out of England's opportunities to get a Ballon d'Or, he has the best opportunity for an England player to get one in his career.
I think he's got a chance of most certainly doing that. Joshua Lovelace here says, if Saka continues scoring at this rate, he'll eclipse Kane's goals for England, and if Haaland stays, he will eclipse Kane's Premier League record. What is legacy then? I think they're talking earlier about Harry Kane's legacy, but I don't know if Saka will catch Harry Kane's goals, purely on the basis that Harry Kane's probably going to keep scoring England goals for another 5 or 6 years and be a record breaker. And also listen, if Saka breaks Kane's goal scoring record as a winger or a wide player, that would be astronomical. But I think he'll definitely do something. This says, how about NG? Who's NG? Is he world class? Who would NG be? Who's NG?
I don't know.
Who's NG?
I can only think of N'Golo, but
I can't work out who NG is.
Yeah, I'm not sure on that one.
Yeah, maybe the super chat put the wrong initials in. Some saying Kante. Angolo. Oh, is Angolo Kante world class? He was. I don't think
He
he
Yeah,
was
was.
that's
world
what I think.
class. Yeah, he was.
yeah, he was.
When-
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah.
Definitely. In his season at Leicester and then in early Chelsea. Yeah, not anymore though.
No, no, I agree.
Okay.
He's not even. When was his last appearance? August. That's just not good enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, by the way, to Stubbs. Sorry for becoming an official squad member of the Football Terrace. Thank you very, very much indeed. The next talking point, which includes Saka and it includes another Arsenal player, Odegaard. Who do you boys think deserves the Player of the Year award this year?
Who
These are
snuck
the
in
top-
Rashford?
Number 8.
Well, the reason, so the top, just let me just finish the intro. Sorry, boys. So the 4 favourites, according to the bookies, in 4th place is Rashford, followed by Saka, followed by Odegaard, followed by Haaland. So they are the reason they're on there is they're the top 4 according to the bookmakers. They're the top 4.
It's got to be
Who
Odegaard.
you think Odegaard deserves it?
100%. I think no. Like, don't get me wrong. Saka's brilliant. Haaland's been amazing for the club, but I think Haaland's been massively boosted by Kevin De Bruyne. I think Kevin De Bruyne's actually still been a better player than Haaland, even though Haaland scored the goals. I mean, just De Bruyne's just a machine. But when you actually look at Odegaard and what he does and what he's done for the club, just take us to the next level. He's taken us to the next level. Like as a captain, this is just what I'm saying. I mean, I could be slightly biased. I mean, I don't watch every single game in the league, but I do watch a lot. And when I watch, for instance, when we played Sporting and Odegaard wasn't on the pitch, you can tell. You can tell when Odegaard is not on that pitch. When the second he comes on, everything changes. He gets the crowd on it. He gets the fans back in. He gets the players clicking and going. I think. Yeah, I mean, the fact that Rashford's in the chat, I think he's got to be number 5. I think De Bruyne's been a better player than Rashford. It's no disrespect to Rashford either, but for me, personally, it's just Odegaard. I just think what he's done, he's taken us from here to here. Personally, I just that's my opinion.
The funny thing about that, look, Odegaard's not my point. My one goes to Haaland, but your whole Odegaard argument then. That's literally the exact same reason we gave for Jordan Henderson to win Player of the Year in 1920. It's fantastic, yeah, but that was because all of our plays were good. Whereas Haaland, when you look at the numbers, I'm sorry, 28 goals in 26 games is 28 goals in 26 games. He has been the best striker. He's been the best player.
Where are City? What's the 28 goals?
That's not on Haaland.
But what I'm saying is, as football is not all about scoring. It's about the defensive ability. It's about the attacking ability. It's about as a team.
So then, can strikers not? So should strikers not win Player of the Year then?
But Gabriel Jesus.
So then, I can't fault Haaland. I can't fault Haaland for Bernardo Silva being off his levels this year. I can't fault Haaland for Jack Grealish being inconsistent this year. I can't fault Erling Haaland for Manchester City's defenders constantly being in and out the lineup because of injuries and everything. I can only fault Haaland on what he can and can't do on the football pitch. And Erling Haaland has done his job, which is score goals. I don't think he's been utilised properly by Pep Guardiola. I think Pep Guardiola was going through a period where he didn't know how to use him. And now that he's re-identified,
you say that he scored his goal rate was higher at the start of the season when he didn't know how to use him than what he is now.
My point on him, because I said he didn't know how to use him from about December to January. He kept trying to go back to his wingers, kept trying to force the ball to Grealish and force the ball to Mahrez and keep doing nice, slow build up where he's trying to pass teams off the pot. That's not how you play. Now that he's gone back to, look, we're going to get the ball to Haaland. Haaland will score goals. At the end of the day, the numbers are the biggest thing for me. And Erling Haaland has a ridiculous amount of them, and he will continue to get a ridiculous amount of them. He will break the Premier League goal scoring record for most goals in a season. He will smash that record. There is still a world where Manchester City win this title. He's also, I reckon he can get close to, if not hit, 10 assists. I think Erling Haaland's been the best player in the league. That's just me. I think Odegaard's been the most important. I think Odegaard's been the most important, but I think Haaland's been the best.
I would say there's sort of like two ways. And yes, Haaland scored his goals, right? He has scored his goals. But for me, like, to be the best player, I think the best player as well also makes the biggest contribution. That's why a lot of players I feel like don't get a lot of credit from what they do, just in respect of their own clubs. I mean, like if Haaland wasn't playing and Alvarez came in, I still think City would be exactly where they are in the league. I still think they'd be exactly where they are.
What's that
Whether
based
Haaland
on?
played or not. What's that based on? Even when he does come on, when it's a sub, he still get goals. He still scores. He still comes in on the cups. He still gets the goals. And the way that City work, I think they've actually been better in previous seasons when they didn't have a sole striker and had the false nine sort of model than when they got Haaland. I'm not saying Haaland's not a great player. He's phenomenal. He's just an absolute poacher. If you give him a half chance, he'll turn it into a goal. But I'm saying on terms of an impact perspective, like on a defense, like your defending has been nowhere near the levels of what City have been in the previous years, and that's come from, say, when you had Aguero and Jesus. They used to step back and press. They would put the extra man
in
in
the top 1%
so you're
for pressing in terms of forwards.
in terms of forwards. But how many tackles? So where's his tackles? What's his tackling conversion?
You just said pressing.
Yeah,
I
no,
told
but
you the pressing stats.
But that's his pressures. But how many of them actually converted into actual tackles and change of possession? That's what. That's
very rare for a striker to do that.
That's a terrible point. That's a terrible point.
No. But I'm saying, no. Because what I'm saying is, I watch Haaland, right? And when he's
Haaland's won 67% of his tackles.
Yeah. But I'm saying, when he comes in, he doesn't change the game on a defensive platform. I just don't see him. Whereas when
he's a striker, I don't understand what that means. I take umbrage with a lot of your points. And the first one I don't like is you said that you basically tried to say, well, Haaland's goals basically aren't as valuable because he's playing with De Bruyne. A lot of people are saying that De Bruyne is having his worst ever season at City, so I don't buy that one for a start. In the second instance, you say that, well, look at where City are on the table again. That's a terrible argument. Who won the player of the year last year? It was Mo Salah. Where did Liverpool come? Did they win the title? No, they didn't. I've got a list of the PFA Player of the Year winners, and like the idea that the winner.
I don't think there's been someone who won unless it was no.
De Bruyne won it a couple of years ago.
So I think that will have been the last one. Who was the last Player of the Year winner?
And then
whose team also won the title.
A City player won it when Liverpool won it. A Liverpool player won it when City won it. A Liverpool player won it when City won it. And then you did have Kante and Mahrez. But yeah, this idea that if you're part of the winning team,
to the Arsenal one, right? Okay, so look at Liverpool and City, right? You were 1-2, 1-2, 1-2 for a few years. Erdegaard's come in, he's hit his game. We went from 5th to 1st because of his impact. The way he's creating goals, he's scoring, he's literally doing the most chances created in the final third, and he's allowing the opportunities.
Saka's also jumped up a level. Jesus has come in and changed it up.
No.
Nketiah's jumped up a level. Martinelli's jumped up a level.
When you watch Arsenal, right, and you see Edgar come out the game, the level drops massively. When Erdegaard steps in, he completely changes the way we play.
I do understand that, but the reason, listen, I'll come to who I think deserves it. Where I'll defend that point, though, is I've seen a lot of Man United players be discredited, historical players, legends. Paul Scholes, yeah, but if you didn't have Paul Scholes for a few months, you could still win the league. Therefore, he's not as influential. It's like, no, we just had other good players that could step into that void. I don't think Haaland should be discredited because your drop off from Odegaard to Fabio Vieira is so massive. That doesn't take away from how good Haaland.
Oh no, I still think Haaland's great. If it goes Haaland to Odegaard, I wouldn't.
Sorry, let me just finish. The problem that you have is that this happens with again when you're looking at great sides. Is there's lots of big fishes in big ponds. You don't notice how big they are. You're noticing Odegaard and Saka more at your club because they are massive fishes in not small ponds. You've got lots of good players at your club, but you don't have loads of big whoppers in there. In the next 3 or 4 years, as your players develop and grow, you buy more. You add a Declan Rice to your team. You add another top-class forward, another top-class defender. Some of the younger players develop even more and go to another level. People will start to label that a Gooners. They'll start saying, yeah, well, Odegaard can't be player of the match because he missed a month injured and you still won all your games. Like Gabriel Jesus, you guys have done brilliantly without him. Does that mean he's not influential on this team? Of course he is. So I don't think that's a good enough argument. Equally, I would give it to Saka. And I'll tell you why in a moment. I want to just defend Rashford for a minute when everybody says, why is Rashford there? Rashford is the 3rd highest goal contributing forward in European football this year, only behind Mbappe by 3 and Haaland, who's on Haaland by 11. Haaland's clear of everybody on 47. So no one has been more productive. Only 2 players in the whole of our footballing continent have been more productive, more devastating, and more efficient than Marcus Rashford this year. His run of form has led us to win a trophy, has really put us in a good position in the top 4, which nobody expected. And we're still going strong in 2 other cup competitions. If he ends up winning another trophy or 2 and continues his goal scoring form, I wouldn't pick him to win it. But I definitely get why his name is there or thereabouts being mentioned, because he's been one of the best players in Europe this season. But I don't think he deserves it. I'm just going to defend him why his name's being there. But I would personally go with Saka. And the reason I'd go with Saka is because Odegaard's brilliant. He's been an excellent leader. I like to pick the team I think is going to win the league. So I know that I'm just giving my personal preference who I think should win it. I hate the idea of, look, Man United won a treble in '99 and David Ginola won Player of the Year. Didn't make any sense to me. It still makes me angry now, 25 years later. So I think it's going to go to should go to an Arsenal player, because I think Arsenal are going to win the league. Saka for me has been as consistent, as influential, and as good as Odegaard, but I believe has delivered slightly more in the bigger games. Gets taken off less. And I just think that's why he edges it for me, looking at them. I think they've both been great, but I'd go with Saka. If I do think, though, who I think actually going to win it, I think they'll give it to Haaland. And I don't think he's undeserving of it, but I think Haaland will, because Haaland's probably going to break records that will never be broken again, other than by himself. And I think when you set, and what they do a lot with these awards, they do separate a lot. In England, they do it. They don't do it with the Ballon d'Or, but they do it with the sports writers and the Football Player of the Year in England, is they separate team achievements quite regularly and focus on what the individual did themselves. And the fact that he might score more goals in a single season than any other player in English football history, I just think they're going to give it to him personally. But if I had a vote, I'll be voting for Saka, but I think it'll go to Haaland personally.
Probably.
It's got to. In his debut season, he's going to, bar some injuries, he's quite comfortably going to break Andy Cole and Shearer's record of scoring 34 Premier League goals in a season. He's quite comfortably, if we're talking about all competitions, he's quite comfortably going to beat Salah and Van Nistelrooy's record of scoring 44 in all comps. And as I say, in his debut season, his job is to score goals. He's scoring goals. I don't really know what more we can expect. Of him.
I've just done the numbers as well, because I wanted to check this. Erling Haaland won Manchester City 21 points alone, just through his goals. 21 points. So many of them games, if he doesn't score, Manchester City go from winning it to losing it.
Yeah.
So many of those games. So I know that Manchester City aren't at that level that they've been at in previous years where they were winning the title. They were leading at this point. But that's not Erling Haaland's fault. If they didn't have Erling Haaland, they would be below Brentford.
Thing is that I would say, although he scored the goals, and I'm not saying Haaland, I'm not discrediting his effect, whatever, but I still think if you had Alvarez, I still think they would still get a lot of those points. Just the sheer amount of opportunities that a City striker gets, because they just have genuinely incredible players. Like, and
I don't think they're creating those same chances though. I don't think
it's a different forward for me, and he wasn't getting the same amount of. I wouldn't say he was getting the same amount of minutes. He was doing what he did. 28 games for you last season?
Why didn't any striker do it last season and all the season before?
I mean, Sergio Aguero was doing bits for you. Yes, he's not Haaland.
Not the season before. He was nowhere.
Yeah, but now we know why, because his health was deteriorating. That's what happened with him.
Yeah,
but I mean, but the thing about what you did in those seasons, yes, so Sergio Aguero didn't get 28 goals right now. But the thing is, your midfielders were scoring more, your defenders were scoring more, your wingers were scoring more. Whereas if you look at them now, right, I remember when you'd go to a top scorers list in the last few years, and you'd see top scorers. There would be like 3 Man City players in the top 10, but there would be like 4 in like the top 15, right? You don't have that now. Your top scorer is just Haaland. Whereas you look at now,
scored more goals.
You've now go to Arsenal. You've now got there's no other single team has more than one player scoring more than 10 goals this season, whereas Arsenal have 3, and that's just the way we play it. You've got like the ethos of the way they play. So Arteta said at the end of last season, he said goals need to come from across the team more. It needs to be from midfielders, defenders, strikers. Everyone needs to score. And now we've got Saliba, Gabriel. I think Gabriel's on 3 goals this season. Saliba's on 3, or Gabriel might be on 4 goals now. I'm not too sure. Zinchenko scored his first Premier League goal ever. Ben White scored his first Premier League goal.
What I've got to say to you is, though, I'm not saying you'll do this, but you've got to be very careful your narrative. Because if next year you have a player that's got 35 goals and everybody else is in like low single digits, Arsenal fans will come out with a narrative why why that's better than one. Like it's better than one
No,
guy.
no, no.
And I'm not having to
If
go
it works, it works. Yeah, no. If it works, it works.
What I see
right?
from football fans every year to get their player to win, like the narrative around what the best look is, goals spread out, one goal scoring, everything. Like there was years where everyone, you got to have a 20-goal season striker. Suddenly you get someone, a club like City gets one, everyone's like, actually, it's better for all the goals to be spread amongst everybody. And I'm not even going to go at you. I love the narratives to football fans. This
But don't
season,
The
wrong,
thing
I
is,
think
I don't think
Haaland's
they played the
phenomenal,
same
right?
way. I really don't
No,
think
they
City
haven't.
have
They've had
played
to
the
change.
same way. And I think to say that, City always create chances for the strikers, so you could put Alvarez in and it'd be fine. I don't think they create the same amount of chances. I don't think they create the same quality of chances either, because I think that came from having Raheem Sterling, who had a lot of pace, who could really stretch games out. They don't have that now on Jack Grealish. So a lot of these cutbacks that we saw that was City thrived upon for years, I don't see them happening as much. So Haaland's actually getting much more difficult chances than strikers of previous years have got, and he's still converting them at a ridiculously high rate. I understand Odegaard's been important, but for me, this just comes down to I'm going to go back to that Henderson example. When we won the league, Jordan Henderson was the most important player on our team by far. He took everyone's levels up, but Kevin De Bruyne won Player of the Year because his numbers were ridiculous. He matched the Premier League assist record and still had a really good season carrying a Manchester City team that was below standards to a second-place finish. Erling Haaland this year is going to completely demolish that goal-scoring record. As sad as it is for me, because Salah's going to lose it, he's going to demolish that goal-scoring record. He could hit 35, 36, 37, get close to, if not hit 10 assists. He could average near 50 GA across this Premier League season. I can't look at anyone else but him for Player of the Year, because yes, his team hasn't performed well, but this isn't Team of the Year, this is Player of the Year.
I'll tell you what you've got to look at as well. Arsenal fans have got to pick one person to get behind, though, because you've got two in the running. If there's any element of this as fan votes, if you split yourselves on him, Haaland might get all the other votes. So you guys are, that's just again a tactical thing. You've got to pick one and drop the other one out. Like if there was four of them in the running, one of them's got to come last, because you've got to put all your votes into one person to make that happen. We have a super chat here that says, Terry, by your logic, KK, Napoli winger. Oh, yeah, you mean Cavadonna is world class.
Yeah.
His levels this season are world class. Obviously, he's doing it in Serie A, which is, in my opinion, a slightly lower standard than the Premier League day by day, week by week. Not the best teams, but overall, he's doing it in the Champions League, though. So his performances right now are at a world class level. The reason I don't have as big as opinion on him, though, is I'm not one of these weirdos online that pretends to watch all the leagues. So I don't watch him with as much regularity. I would actually say, because of how long I've been running the Football Terrace and all the games I cover, I think I've watched pretty much every single Arsenal game since Saka's debut. So I have a much bigger understanding of how good I think he is compared to Cavadonna, who I've only seen play about 10 times. So I'm not going to, my logic, yes, but I need to watch him. So I'm giving an individual opinion on a player. I think Saka's reached a world-class level, and I think he'll maintain it based on what I've seen in his career. Because I haven't watched this winger at Napoli play, I won't make a statement that I think he'll maintain it, because I haven't watched enough of him. But if you've watched him and you think he'll maintain this level, then by all means, use my logic to say he'll be world-class. But it's about having faith that somebody isn't going to drop off the other end. And I won't give an opinion on a player that I don't watch with great regularity, because that would make me a sausage. And I don't
what we'll say as well, because I feel like a lot of people will be like, oh, you're stupid. If Haaland was to win Player of the Year, I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised. But just from my perspective, just on the purely impact, I would just say Odegaard, but that's just my opinion. Not everyone agrees with it. But if Haaland was to win it, I wouldn't be annoyed. Do you know what I mean?
I hear you on that. The PFA isn't voted for by the fans, but I do think there is an award that is the fans vote on. I swear there's something. Might be the Premier League.
There's a journalist award. I know that much.
Yeah, there's Football Writers of the Year. PFA. I swear there's one that's like the.
I think it's like EA Sports Premier League Player of the Year.
Yeah, so I think so that you've got the PFA Player of the Year. There's Football Writers Player of the Year, and then I think there is a Premier League one, maybe that the fans vote for. But yeah, there we go. Only Ramsdale needs a goal. What for everybody to score? Can you imagine to win the league last minute? Ramsdale header.
Oh, mate, imagine that. You'd love it as well. You know, you would shithouse it. You know, you would absolutely shithouse it as well. Because I love Ramsdale for that regard. I actually love him for that. I just love him as a character, like that sort of. Oh, I just love it. The win with the North London derby with Richarlison sticking his finger in his face. That was brilliant.
Yeah, by the
I
way,
love that.
if fans don't have a vote on one, then disregard what I said. I swear there is one that I voted on last year. I swear I went onto a website on the Premier League and voted for a Player of the Year thing last year. Maybe I got it wrong, but there we go. Boys, I really appreciate you guys coming on and having your say. I really do. Of course, George and Sav had to drop off a little bit early, licking their wounds over Conte. Really, that's what they're doing. Viewers, you're amazing. Everyone who's hit the like button, thank you. My super chatters, you're beautiful. We're back tomorrow, straight facts, myself and Lee Gunner, plus some other content for you. As hopefully by the close of, I'm hoping by Wednesday, we can start starting to build up to proper football coming back. International stuff's okay, but it ain't proper. Do you know what I mean? Until next time, everybody, take care. Goodbye. God bless. Please make sure you go and follow us on Spotify right now and leave us a review. Give us a 5-star if you can, if you enjoy what we do. The link's in the live comment section or in the description below. I'll post it in the live comment section if you can't see it. Just either get Spotify downloaded, or if you're already on it, come follow us over there so you can download the podcast, listen to it again in its entirety if you haven't been able to do so already. And we'll see you all again very, very soon. Bye-bye.